Good evening and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. We're back again. Football is back. All is well with the world. The international break is over. We've got, something like 5,000 games before the World Cup. And the first one of this block of games is Leeds United on Sunday. And to preview the game, I have my trusty right-hand men, Kev, KTAVFC, and
Hello.
Martin, Marto Leonardo. How are you doing, boys?
All good.
Glad that football is back. Glad that proper football is back, boys.
Proper football, yeah.
I'm a bit disappointed, to be honest. I still want to watch England get better.
Well, we've already had it a bit backstage. You gloating about Ireland winning and England stinking the place out and celebrating a 10-minute performance against Germany.
Let me tell you a little bit, just quickly, about my trip to Wembley on Monday night. So my kids have been to a show on Sunday in London, so they were absolutely exhausted on the Monday as well. And I thought, booked it ages ago. Took them to London, all excited. Honestly, they were both almost asleep 15 minutes into the game. But I managed to just about get them to half time, thinking, kids, come on, it's England, Germany, big rivalry. What do they get, right? Got them through half time with a bit of light sugar. Second half, we saw 2 Germany goals. And then my little girl was like, I need a wait. I'm like, no, really? Can you wait? No, can't wait, Daddy. Need to go. So we went for a wee. Took absolutely ages. Missed England's first goal, missed England's second goal. And then she said she wanted to go home. So as we were leaving, England scored a third. And as we got to the tube station, Germany equalised. But I'll tell anybody, I went to England, Germany, Wembley. How was it? Well, I saw 2 Germany goals and then I went home. See you later. What a night that was. My first ever England men's game as well.
Well, you can always trust in kids to ruin an experience for you. That is one thing that you can always rely on. But yeah, so as we say, boys, football is back. We've got some people watching already, which is fantastic. As always, we're back now. We're back regular. We're up to 360 subscribers. If it's your first time watching, please give us a like on the video. Helps spread the word. And if you're enjoying what you're seeing, please consider subscribing. It's all free, and we're on the road to 400. We're going to preview the Leeds game, but I thought before we get into that, boys, we'll just chat a little bit about some of the players. I mean, as I say, there's no one really involved in the England setup. We'll talk about one player who's probably his reputation has gone up, apart from maybe with Danny Mills, as he's not being picked in the England squad. We'll maybe talk about him a little bit. But Martin, being a proud Irishman, you wanted to just touch on a couple of the Villa youngsters who are doing very well in the Irish youth team. So yeah, take it away, mate.
Yeah, just for the under-21s in the 2 legs against Israel. But here in Ireland, we like to say Palestine. So if you're from Israel, I'm not apologising. No, just joking. But 2 lads, Tyreek Wright and Finn Azaz, performed really well. First leg, they were brilliant. Second leg, Tyreek Wright started. And then I think Finn Azaz came on in extra time. Unfortunately, lost on penalties 3-1. Tyreek's penalty, I'll be honest, wasn't great. Way too easy for the keeper. Finn Azaz didn't take a penalty, but lads lost some penalties. Some were good penalties, and the keeper just catches the right way. So it is what it is there. And then for the seniors, I mean, we're now in the Nations League B along with England. I can't wait to get this.
Right, enough of that. But yeah, talking about the 2 young Villa players, obviously Tyreek Wright's at Bradford and Finn Azaz at Plymouth. Yeah, and I think there's some really good positive signs from both of them. I think Wright has scored for Bradford maybe in their last game or the game before, and I think Azaz maybe he's got 3 or 4 for Plymouth already. So things looking promising for them, for those boys. So yeah, obviously the loan market for these type of players really does work, and whether they come back into the fold of Villa or whether they go on to make a career out of themselves, it shows that the going out on loan works, doesn't it, Kev?
Absolutely, mate. Some great examples of that, going all the way back to Mr. Grealish himself, when he was lighting up League One in Notts County. I just think it just goes to show, it gives you a window to show what you can do. And look at what Cameron Archer did. I mean, obviously, he's not getting the time at Villa this season, but it really put him in the window. It got him obviously the England's 21 chance. He took that with both hands, 4 goals in 4, and he's just waiting for his chance now to get into the Premier League team. Keenan Davis did the same thing, performed brilliantly. Nottingham Forest really helped them get them up, basically. So it's an opportunity, I think, if you grab it, to put yourself in the window. And it's hard in the Premier League. Premier League teams sometimes, as we know from Villa fans, there's often clamour for the youth. Maybe they don't get the games because the manager's thinking, crikey, my job's on the line if I don't get results. I need to keep the tried and tested players in.
Yeah.
So when do they get a chance? They maybe get a chance if they get international call-ups or if they go on loan. So long may it continue, really. I just think it'd be nice to see a few more of them get a chance, particularly someone like Kessler Hayden with what he did last year. Would be, it's the great fallback crisis of 2022. And, we are... bit devoid, aren't we, of cover? And I think a flying young right back would be pretty good right now as cover.
Yeah, definitely. And you never know what might happen in January with players like that, particularly if Luca Dean or Matty Cash get a setback. But yeah, we'll go on to the injuries a little bit when we talk about the starting lineups and go through what we think Gerrard will do. But Martin, one player who did do very well for Scotland, propelling them to the Group A now, promotion from the Group B in the Nation League to Group A is John McGinn, and he's obviously the captain of Scotland and employed in a slightly different role to what he gets at Villa, and always seems to kind of be very effective. Now, it's different style of football, don't get me wrong, different standard of football as well, but does it beg the question of playing McGinn higher up the pitch because of how effective he is with Scotland?
I'm a bit self-conflicted here because I think you've really set me up because I like John McGinn and he's done this performance against Ireland. So I'm a bit 50-50.
To be fair, mate, just honest, innocent question. I promise you, I wish I was that clever to set you up. I wish I was, but no, just...
No, I remember I was in the pub watching it and John McGinn, he was brilliant. And like when he made a foul, I was like... I don't know what to say because like I love him and then at the same time I love my country, like, so it's weird, when sometimes when you see your player play for a different country playing against your country, so you don't know how to react to it. So but look, in terms of the different role, he was brilliant there. Like, we didn't know how to handle him. The first game round we won 3-0, he was just non-existent. So that's kind of John McGinn in a nutshell, as we all know. Like, he's either there or he's not. But against us, done really well. He was stuck in right from the start. Led his team well. Obviously led them to the Nations League A, to top tier, which hopefully they get a good group and probably stay up there. Because I do like Scotland. But, in Ireland we tend to have a soft spot for the Scottish. But I think, obviously, because when he plays with us, he's nearly covering the fullback. At times the fullback's going up. But with Scotland, he's like a 10, nearly a false 9. So he's constantly pressing from the front foot rather than pressing from the back foot. So it is 2 different roles. It's very tricky on a player like normally pressing from the front foot for, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks with your national team. Then all of a sudden, you're doing now back to the back foot for a whole chunk of 10 to 12 weeks before you have another break. So it's really hard on a player like that. And for McGinn, I say he's probably frustrated, probably pressing from the back foot. And now that he's probably shown pressing from the front foot is his game. And Gerrard probably should be watching this thinking, yeah, he can press from the front foot.
Yeah. Kev, what about yourself? Do you think him playing in a more advanced role kind of takes away some of the weaknesses with his passing ability?
Yeah. I think the problem with McGinn is, like, we know based on his record with Scotland, what a good player he is. Based on his record as a midfielder for Scotland, he's got 14 goals in 51 games. I mean, that's some record, isn't it, for a player who's not really seen as an attacking player. And but I think if we were a lower Premier League team, and we are a lower Premier League team, but I think if we had aspirations of, no more than staying up, shall we say, maybe like our first season back or in the Championship, you probably could play him a bit more advanced. when you've got Coutinho, when you've got Buendia, when you've got Bailey, when you've got Jacob Ramsey, when you've got all these players that are probably more likely to be able to play in those attacking positions, is he going to get past an Emmy and a Felipe in that number 10 role? He's not. So what do you do with him? What how do you solve a problem like John McGinn when we all love him and we think he's got the heart of a lion and he's, he grafts and when he gets into those tackles, we love it. But he's not been great for Villa for quite a bit of time now, and it's clear for everyone to see. There was a really, really interesting piece, actually. I mean, I'm sure if you read The Athletic, but I mean, and those that don't, I'm not always plugging other media outlets, but we like to give the love where we can. But The Athletic's a fantastic publication, really high quality journalism for football. Greg Evans has done a great piece on McGinn's difference for Villa and Scotland. And actually, the analysis on his touches in Scotland games, they're all in attacking positions pretty much. His touches for Villa are all either side of the halfway line. So the reality for me is that if you've got a situation where you're playing in a more advanced role, you're going to get more goals. If you're playing more deep for Villa, then you're going to play that kind of role. But he's not really great at passing, and his distribution's not been brilliant for some time. So it's a real heavy heart now, and you'll see my team pick in a minute. But I don't know what we do with him. I can't see him getting dropped, but I just look. I'd like to try the experiment of trying him further forward, but I don't know in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think for me as well is he's facing that competition in those forward positions with like Coutinho, Ramsey, sometimes Bailey, Buendia, who can't even get in at the moment. So to then try and shoehorn McGinn into it is a real tricky one. Whereas obviously with Scotland, because he plays for Villa in the Premier League, he's automatically one of their best players. So you play your best players in areas that's going to hurt the opposition. Whereas with Villa, like, is he going to get in ahead of Coutinho? Is he even going to get in ahead of Buendia? That's the
other thing as well, mate. I agree. The other thing as well is, and we've said this about a few of our players, as in that step up to wanting to be a top, 6, 8, 10, whatever it is, Premier League team. And these players that have never been there before, Ollie Watkins, Matty Cash, Ezri Konsa, they've never been any higher than, what was it, finishing in the middle of the league, basically. And if you look at McGinn, and we talk about how great he's been at international level, but actually his goals at international level have been against Russia, okay, decent team, San Marino, Cyprus, Kazakhstan, Austria, Faroe Islands, Israel, Austria, Armenia, and Ukraine. So is that not the international equivalent of scoring against people that are in the lower half of the Premier League, upper half of the Championship? And maybe Scotland not playing lots of games against big countries. I'd have to check the stats on that. But is it unexpected that somebody who's a good player would score against Kazakhstan or the Faroe Islands or Austria?
Yeah.
I don't think it is.
But the thing with Rich, but the thing with Scotland is like they play with to each player's strengths because they're so limited in what they pick compared to the likes of England, where you have let's just look at your front attackers, for instance, Grealish, Foden, Kane, Tony, Tammy Abraham, Jordan Bowen, probably Ollie Watkins, and you just keep adding up. Where Scotland, their front line is
Lyndon Dykes,
different, like Colin McGregor, Che Adams, players fair enough, Colin McGregor's in Celtic, but after that there's not really much else. And then Che Adams, who is English but obviously has Scottish descent, he's over there. So they're playing to their strengths and limited in what they pick. So there's a little bit of a togetherness in what way they play compared to the likes of England, Scotland, Wales, and even the lads up the north. So it is a little bit different to how when you come into that team compared to an English team or the Germany team or the French team,
Of course. Yeah. Well, talking on England, one player who probably enhanced his reputation, as I mentioned before, without actually getting in the squad, and in turn managed to win Villa's Player of the Month, Tyrone Mings. Now, you kind of messaged in our group, fully deserved, and absolutely agree with you. And from a Villa perspective, it's great news that he's back to form. But what do you think it means for him with regards to England and the World Cup as well?
I don't know whether Southgate is going to keep persisting with Maguire. I think he's got so far in. Have you ever been in a situation where you've watched a film that has been really rubbish for about an hour and 10 minutes, and you think, I'm not going to give up on it now, because there might be a good twist. And I think he's like that with Harry Maguire. And you hear the whole, oh, he's never let England down, though, Harry Maguire, has he? Whoever it is, whichever pundit it was, I was taking the mick out there. But, I mean, how can you be picking him on form? Now, I don't know if you remember, I like a bit of trumpet blowing, right? But if you remember at the start of the season, my surprise package of the season was Tyrone Mings for Villa, because I thought he'd do.
I'll have to go back through the records. I'll have to go back. Yeah, you might be claiming credit here for some that's not warranted.
I just felt like he's been vilified quite rightly for a lot of stuff, but I just felt like he'd have a point to prove, and you can see now. Maybe it says a lot about how the rest of our players have done, but he's been fantastic recently. He won every one of his ground duels, didn't he, against Southampton, and also his aerial duels, which is just brilliant. He was great against City. I just think we know what his limitations are at times with distribution, but in terms of putting his body on the line and being a great defender, I think he's been great. Do I think he deserves an England call-up? I think if you're going to use the argument never let England down, his record with England is fantastic.
Isn't it something like 14 clean sheets or something in 17 games?
It's something exactly like that. Has he got a couple of goals as well, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I just think it's like, if you're going to use the argument, I'm only going to pick players on form, and also simultaneously, when Grealish was, in my opinion, the best player in the league, under the COVID year, never play him, and now he's doing sod all for Man City, and he gets, he's not much lately, but he's getting regular game time. When your argument is one way, and then you prove how inconsistent you are, you look like a bit of a muppet, in my opinion. So there you go.
Yeah. Anyway. I see Martin looking extremely smug, so I'm not going to ask the question on the international front. I'm going to ask the question from a Villa perspective, and maybe slightly different angle. Obviously, Steven Gerrard's been getting a lot of criticism for going back to this defensive, more solid way of playing. But conversely, do you think that has had a positive impact on the form of Ezri Konsa, and obviously there with getting Player of the Month Tyrone Mings?
Before I get onto them too, I just love it when English people give out about England in the football thing. Because what you have with Jordan Ozil, it's so funny to us. It really is.
You're getting very close to being muted here, Martin.
Yeah.
Do I care? No. But now
can you answer the question, please?
From a Villa point, I think with Gerrard obviously getting a lot of stick, I think maybe with the captaincy being removed from Mings, it took a lot of pressure off him. Playing wise, a lot of people might not even cop onto that by now and probably thinking, why did they take the captaincy off him? He's really playing well. But that's probably because the pressure's not on him anymore. Now it's on John McGinn. And that's a psychological thing for a player, right? There's no pressure on me. I can just go play my game, do whatever. And if he makes a mistake, it might not be as noticed now because John McGinn's the captain. And as for Konsa, he's really slipped, hasn't he? We know the standard that man can play at. He was nearly in shout for an England call-up or a Portugal call-up because there was talks of being going to the two. If he didn't get this England call-up, then he was going to go and get visas sorted for Portugal and go play for Portugal. And now all of a sudden, he hasn't got a sniff of getting near any team because he hasn't really been playing well. So I think, Mings obviously doing really well because there's not as much pressure on him. There's not as much probably social media hype now that he's not the captain and that he's not getting slated week in, week out for any silly mistakes. Konsa, like I said, he's really
he may be on the road back. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but
I think Chambers should nearly be starting ahead of him to give Konsa that bit of motivation again. Right, I don't want to be sitting here. I don't want to be out there. Some players need that. They need to kick up. They need to kick up the backside. Put them on the bench, and then they don't want to be there. Then they work hard to start, or they suck. You don't know which reaction you're going to get. So
yeah. Kev, any comment from you on that? I mean, obviously, you're not quite in the Sam camp of hating Steven Gerrard, but is there a scope for maybe some potential credit, as in, the kind of openness in midfield that we've suffered from for probably the past 3 years, apart from a small chunk of that when Gerrard first came in, that he's kind of solidified that midfield a little bit, sacrificed the attacking play, but in turn that's meant that the centre halves look a bit more solid, playing with a bit more confidence.
No credit for me here. No credit at all. I mean, I'm not quite Sam's level. Absolutely, you're right. But I'm not. You know, if Sam's in Australia, I'm kind of just about to land in Perth, basically, because I look at it and think, I honestly think I could manage a Premier League team, and if I played in a really defensive manner, I would have better defensive results, and that's what we've done. We are abysmal going forward at the moment. I think we're second worst in the league at chance creation. So it actually makes me feel a bit sorry for Ronnie Watkins and Danny Ings. Now I know that.
Considering the players we have, it really is poor.
Yeah, it is, and I think that.
How much is that down to like the players giving the ball away? Because Steven Gerrard can't force players to pass the ball to their own teammates.
No, he can't, and I do hear that. But when we look at a situation where you've had a scenario where we've had, and let's get into this right. He's had 2 transfer windows, which he said. Remember, he said, "I just want the summer window. I'll transfer my players in pre-season. It'd be nice to have your first team coach there, but anyway, passport gate, whatever. But I'll just want that, and next season we'll kick on." And listen, no one's got a divine right to win all the games in the Premier League. It's the manner of our performances. And the manner of our performances at the moment is getting some results by playing turgid, terrible football. It's not exciting. I mean, the Southampton game was like pulling teeth, but we got to win. Great, you can do it. What, Mark?
I actually fell asleep at half time at a Villa Southampton game. It was that boring to watch.
Yeah, I think my kids were watching that on the England game on a phone. That's why I fallen asleep at half time, because. And Man City, look, you can get up against it. My God, if Wickham drew Man City, I'm sure they graft as much as they could. I mean, didn't West Ham nearly get beaten by Kidderminster Harriers last year in the FA Cup?
They did, yeah.
You can put a backs to the wall performance against a better team and get a reaction and be galvanised. But we've played Bournemouth, turgid, terrible. Everton, how we didn't give that win away at the end, I don't know, but it was not great. A couple of moments of good finish and a great bit of work by Buendia. I mean, West Ham, we were awful. Look at the game we played against Southampton. Just terrible. We've played so many games this season, and it's like, and against teams also that have been battered by other teams. And if the only thing we can say now is, like, nearly the end of my rant, right? If the only thing we can say now is, but we're a bit more solid. I mean, I'm not interested. We're not trying to stay in the Premier League. Like, yeah, you might have to keep it solid to change the results. But if we're at this point after a year of his management, that now we've got no identity, I'm done, mate. I am done.
I just still think that that's not necessarily enough time, and I still think you've got to give people sometimes a bit of kudos for saying, look, whatever I've tried here isn't working quite right at the moment, and let me just go back to basics and let's start winning games. Like lots and lots, even teams at the top of the league, Liverpool will be saying, like, we need to go back to basics here. We need to kind of cut out some of these defensive mistakes and start winning some football matches, because you can't win football matches without a solid back line. You can't expect your strikers to perform or to take risks if they don't think that, unless they have the security that their midfield or their defense is going to win second balls and going to keep a solid line. You can't. It just doesn't happen, because they're always on the back foot.
Shouldn't that be a given?
It's not like should. It's the reality of football. That's what it is. That's the reality. Like, you can't, like, it just that's how it happens. Every team, even like the best teams, like in the Premier League at the moment, there's probably 4 teams that are playing good football. That's it. 4 teams. That's probably Fulham, Brighton, Man City, and
Arsenal,
Tottenham. Maybe Arsenal. Tottenham aren't even playing that well. So yeah, that's about it. Like, every other team would be saying exactly the same stuff as us.
Like, I know it's nearly like pre-season, but like mode for some of the teams, but like there's results and performances. Results, fair enough, right? they may not go your well. But then you have to look at the performance. Where's the progression? Where's the identity? Where's the progress of what way we want to play?
What if this is the identity?
Yeah, but we don't know our identity. What is it?
Really?
Because
what if it is? What if it is?
Yeah, we look at Arteta like
off the next stop.
We're shy.
I know, but
the identity and the way they wanted to play was there for us. But it's not there.
No, but with Arteta, he was nearly out of the job this time last year. He was nearly out.
But Alan was in charge.
He kept saying, trust the process, trust the process. Arsenal fans are going crazy.
He had a way he wanted to play. He had the way he wanted to play, and he stuck to it. He brought in players. It hasn't stuck to what he wants to play. And
this is why.
But Marcelo Bielsa stuck with the way that he wanted to play and got sacked.
Yeah, but Marcelo Bielsa didn't just let the money
offered.
But the point is that there's managers that adapt and change to different ways of to the situation that they're currently in, and there's managers that stick to their guns and don't change. Rafa Benitez always stuck to his guns, didn't change. They both equally end up losing their jobs, or they're successful, because at the end of the day, it comes down to results. It's a results business, isn't it? That's how it comes down to.
Rich, the difference for me is this, right? I hear what you're saying, right? And actually, you have got to be pragmatic at times, and if the road conditions are wet, you slow down, you're struggling, you need a result. And there are going to be a lot of the teams outside of the ones you mentioned that are probably also going to be disappointed. I'm sure West Ham are disappointed, Leicester are disappointed, and plenty. But A, it's nowhere near what we've been promised. We don't set the narrative. The club set the narrative, right? B, the club say they want to kick and push on. And yeah, they've spent a bit of money, although the net spend isn't amazing. And C, more importantly, I don't see any green shoots of life from an attacking perspective. If we were creating more chances, if there was better link-up play, if I could see what they were doing in training, to at least see there's some kind of, I don't mind, as you say, Arsenal, Mark, might lose a couple of games trying to play this style of football. Is it too pretty? Do they need to be more pragmatic? But I don't see any shoots of excitement going forward. I see Coutinho playing fantastic the first half against Southampton with nothing around him to work with. I just think that, I don't want to be overly negative, but I look at it now and I think, I don't know what are we hanging on to that we might grab a win at Leeds somehow, and then we just cling on and maybe Newcastle don't batter us, and then where's the sense of us at this stage in our progression?
All I would say is probably
they're not doing that great either.
No, exactly. All I would say is that over the last probably 4 years in the Premier League, we've probably had 5 great performances. Most of the games that you win are clinging on or winning 1-0, or I remember under Dean Smith stinking the place out and beating Southampton 1-0 in lockdown. I know, granted, it was at their place. We had one shot. It's most games of football are extremely close, and you have to grit and grind a victory. That's football. But we remember the great win. We remember the Liverpool 7-2s and the Arsenal away 3-0s because they're so rare. But that's life. But anyway, we do have an opportunity to get back-to-back wins on Sunday at ELLAND Road, and I've got some potentially positive stats for you, Kev.
Okay, mate. Let's do it.
That will come, but. We have to start on a bit of a negative. We've got you mentioned it, the great fullback crisis of 2022. So we've got no Matty Cash, no Luca Dean. We've got no Kamara in midfield, and obviously we've got no Carlos.
Cash is out. I thought Cash was coming back.
No, he's back in training from Monday. So
he's not available for collection.
With regards to kind of the injury crisis, Martin, how does that leave us at the moment as a club and as a defensive unit?
I think this will probably give some players who haven't really been in the team their chance to really grab a spot. We seen with Ashley Young when he came on against Man City when Cash went down, and then a lot of us were thinking, oh, here we go, Ashley Young. No disrespect to Ashley Young, but against Man City, Then Ashley Young ended up having a great game. So I think now with Ludwig, this might be his chance to really grab it, because he's probably thinking, I really want to play. Kamara, that'd be Louise, McGinn and Ramsey midfield three, because let's be honest, Sanson's not getting a sniff. Maybe Den Donker actually might go in, I don't know. But, well, if Den Donker gets a touch, actually. But no, I just think it would really give some players a lift that, yeah, this is my chance now. They're out for 6 weeks. This is my chance that when they come back, they're not getting their shirt back. So I would like to see that little motivational push for them. But, you know, it does leave us fragile at the same time.
Yeah.
Because you're coming up against Leeds, who are doing really well at the minute. And, you know, obviously to our surprise, we got a 1-1 draw against Man City. But hopefully we get a good result against Leeds. And I really want to see Chamberdino start and get another top bin finish.
Yeah. Tyrone Hamilton, who's great watcher of the show, thanks very much for tuning in. She said she doubts that Augustinsson will start. Thinks Gerrard is playing for his job right now. He won't take the gamble. He may come in during the game, depending. But her back four is Young at left back, Mings and Concert, and then Chambers at right back. We'll go on to your teams in a second, Kev. But what do you think? What do you think of that? Do you think that's a possibility?
Well, look, Tyler makes some great points generally, and I don't disagree that would probably be a sensible. You know, you'd probably think that's the right thing to do, but then I think, why would you bring in an international left back as cover for your other international left back and then not play them when your first choice left back is injured? It feels like, I mean, he played well again overnight, apparently. His stats were really good the other night in the Sweden game. Surely the reason you sign him, if he's not good enough to come in when Dean's injured, then sign another bloody fullback who is good enough to come in when Dean's injured. So I don't know. I don't know what the point is. It's another one of those ones where you've got a player that doesn't ever seem to get a game. Now, granted, we don't see him in training. I'm sure Sanson hasn't, you know, from all things I've heard, hasn't impressed Gerrard in pre-season. I'm sure Gerrard's, you know, we have to look at the logic of this sometimes. What benefit has he got not to play the players? But I think if he doesn't play, then I'd be very surprised. Very surprised.
Yeah. Well, let's go on to your starting lineup anyway, Kevin, and we'll go to yours as well in a sec, Martin, just to compare and contrast. So, Kev, you've got Martinez in goal, Mings Concert centre back, Young and Augustinsson at fullbacks, then Donker into midfield this time, Louise and Ramsey in the other midfield positions, and then Coutinho, Bailey, and Watkins up top. So no McGinn in that lineup, and then Donker getting his first start, mate.
I did it last time, no McGinn, but he still played. I fully expect him to play, but this is just what I would do. I'd probably flip Ramsey and Coutinho around maybe in terms of positions. But I think, again, same argument with Augustinsson with Den Donker. It's an international midfield for a top international team. And we've just lost Kamara. You've got to bring him in. I think we need Louise's industry in there. Although, again, I wouldn't mind it. Make the argument about seeing McGinn further forward. I think I'd rather see Louise further forward, but let's not go back into that. And I think Ramsey's running with the ball you need. And then I was a bit torn on Bailey, but I wasn't sure, like, what do you do? I think maybe away games, you might think that we might be on the break a bit more and therefore he might be effective. So that's what I'd do anyway. Yeah,
not a bad shout. And Martin, your 11 is Martinez in goal. You've put Cash in there, but I think, like I say, I think Cash is sadly going to miss that game.
I thought he was back. So
no, that's fair enough, mate. Chambers and Mings in centre half, so Cons are missing out, and then Ludwig, Augustinsson on the other fullback position, Louise in that number 6 position for yourself, and keep him again with Ramsey in that midfield spot as well. Coutinho in from the left, Bailey in from the right, and Watkins up top. So you mentioned you touched on, hinted at Chambers there in the side, and he did have a very good game against Leeds last season.
Yeah, like even from when he actually came in, I've never seen him have a bad game. Like I've never even seen him do anything wrong. So I think this is probably now the game for him to start, because he's been solid. You know, the passing's been very good. You got a goal or two here or there, and him and Mings look comfortable together. So I think this would be the perfect game for him to start. Obviously young to come in, so apologies for having Matty Cash there or right back. I genuinely thought he was back available for selection.
Well,
so
we would have hoped so, but yeah. No. Wish there's nothing wrong with a bit of wishful thinking as well, to be fair.
No, so. It really isn't. Obviously, Ludwig to get his chance. And then I think the midfield three, it's going to be so predictable. I've really nearly gone with a predictable Steven Gerrard side. We're having Louise back in the 6. Ramsey in the front. And the front three, me and Kevin are pretty much spot on. That picks itself. And I seen a video, funny enough, the other day where it doesn't matter how many times you make a coffee, it's going to taste the same. Putting Louise back in the 6. So like. Look.
Yeah, well, maybe it would be a chance for Dendoncker to play. Maybe someone like Bailey doesn't play from the start, and maybe plays Ramsey out on that wide area. I think Ramsey did well with the under-21s as well, didn't he? So
that's the thing with me. Whenever international football just comes around, I nearly forget who plays for Villa sometimes and who does, because like everything is like Ireland this, England this, Scotland this, France this, Denmark done this, Austria done this, and then I come back to the Villa teams like, wait, who plays for us again?
Yeah. Bit on the Leeds side. Now. I did have I'll see if I can get their last. I'll see if I can get a screenshot of their last side up, but I'll read it out for now, just while I try and get it. But their side that played against, they haven't played since September the 3rd, because of obviously the game's called off because of the Queen, and then I think their game as well was called off when we played Southampton, and then the international break. So they haven't played since the 3rd of.
Yeah, I think obviously, Rich, like you said, the first one was cancelled because of the Queen's passing, but then I think the second one was cancelled due to the lack of policing.
Yes.
People going to the funeral or whatever.
Yeah. So while I get their team up from that game, do you think that'll have any impact on their sort of physical state? Like a game without a game for a month, do you think they'll take a while to warm up into the game? How do you think it might impact Leeds, or do you think they'll be really fresh for it?
Well, I think we're so early in the season that there's no excuse for any elite level footballers to not be fresh. We're still just about in September, aren't we? So if you're arguing fatigue at the moment when, we're only 2 months into the season, then that's crazy. I think they might be a bit rusty in terms of, actual big games, and that potentially could have an advantage. We've got a decent record away at Leeds recently, so therefore that might be playing on their mind. But I don't know. I'd expect both teams. They've got a lot. I think they've shown some good signs this season. I think actually some of their players have done pretty well. I think they've been a little bit lucky actually to not get more points from what I've seen in some of the games. So I'm expecting a tough game.
Yeah, well, it always is at Elland Road. Always is. Doesn't matter, no matter what situation they're in. It's a good atmosphere. The crowd's up for it. Yeah. They're up for it. It's always a good atmosphere. But their team from the Brentford game was Melia in goal, Drame, Robin Koch, Lorente, Struijk at left back, Adams and Rocker in midfield, and then the front. Then the sort of three in front of them is Sinistera, Aronson and Harrison, and then Gelhard up front. So, and Jesse Marsch was actually sent off in that game, so he's not going to be in the dugout on Sunday.
Yeah.
But, they've had a real change around in their side. So they're almost like an unknown quantity, aren't they, really, lads?
Mm. Yeah, I think that Sinistera, Adamson and Harrison's a good three behind a striker. I do. I think they've got energy and ability. I think they can, as we've seen this season, they can cause some problems. I think Harrison was unlucky not to be in the England squad, really. I think so. I think there's some. They've got some players in that team. Weirdly, you think with Phillips obviously going and obviously Rafinha going, they would have struggled even more than they have. But no, I think they've obviously missed Rodrigo recently as well. But yeah, I think they're an all right team, Leeds. I don't think they'll go down. I think they're playing for the manager generally. Obviously they stayed up last season, and I think that certainly galvanised them. Mm. And there's obviously expectation on Villa. These are the kind of games you've got to be getting a result against. So there's a lot on the line.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. some stats. We still call it Statman George's Corner, but I actually did the honours with the stats this week, and I did try and be a little bit positive for the game. And Villa Stato is watching. Thanks so much for watching. You do some great stats on Twitter, which are fantastic. So I hope you enjoy these statistics. Did you know Leeds have won just one of their past Premier League home games against Villa, and that was a 3-1 win in the 2002-2003 season.
Jesus.
So that's a decent one, and we could win 3 league fixtures at Elland Road for the first time on Sunday. So that could be 3 league fixtures in a row at Elland Road. However, just to caveat that, Villa could lose 5 consecutive away league matches for the first time since January and February 2017, back when we were in the Championship. So
sounds like a 50-50.
Yeah, so the omens of Elland Road are actually pretty good, but we could be equaling a very unwanted record
Rich
at Villa since when we were in the Championship.
Rich, can I throw in a couple more stats as well? And
you can.
Villa Stat is going to hate me for this, but I think
he loves the positive stats, as he said, but very difficult to find them at the moment.
These might even be Villa Stato's stats himself, so I'm nicking. But we're wearing the 3rd kit against Leeds. We've lost our last 9 games in a row wearing the 3rd kit. Have not won in 13 games in the 3rd kit, so that's a good sign. And this was the one that got me, which I thought was crazy. But basically, we've lost 18 of the last 25 Premier League games played in October, including each of the last 5. So, October.
Thanks, Kev. Thanks, Kev. And I'm going to the game. I'm going to the game as well. So, yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I tried to stay away from those stats because I knew those stats and I tried to stay away from them. So, yeah.
And here, meanwhile, the ladies can go win in the 3rd kit.
Exactly. Yeah, they can. They've done fantastically well. I know you wanted to mention them as well, Kev. We've had chats about that. So yeah, take it away, mate. Before we get the score predictions, give the Villa ladies some real credit.
The ladies, look, they're the ones bringing the positivity at the moment. I mean, I think it's brilliant. You know, they stayed up sort of first season back, didn't they? You know, and it was sort of skin of the teeth sort of thing. And you know, they had 2 great results this season. You know, that Man City win was fantastic. I would, if I could have gone, I wish I could have gone to that game because they were up and then they were down and then they obviously got the win at the end. Great win away at Leicester, you know, 2-0. Leicester a decent team. And they got Man United in the cup. I think they got tomorrow, but like 2 wins out of 2. Yeah, it's only 2 games, but you know, it's not easy.
Something like that just helps in the long run.
It does.
Absolutely. You know, all those people that went to watch the first game, they'll guaranteed to go the next game if they can, plus more, you know. And Rachel Daly is a brilliant signing. Alicia Lehman's a good player. Darley, they've just signed as well. She looks brilliant as well. Like, and the goalkeeper Hampton's been really well. Yeah. Really, really, really good players. And that Man City game was not only a great victory, but it was really, really good game of football for, you know, an advert. We know when people say it's a great advert for Premier League football and all that, the old cliches, but it really was a great advert for the women's Premier League, wasn't it?
And it's great to see as well now. It's great to see that, you know, that women's football always used to get a bit of grief over the years. We saw the quality in the Euros. England won that, Martin. I don't know where your lot were, right? To be fair, I'm half Irish, so I take that back, right? But look at the quality of some of the players you've got now. I mean, that Rachel Daly finish against Man City was phenomenal. First time, you know, bent it in the corner. And we've got some great players, but it's also great to think that it's not just like a flash in the pan tournament. That, you know, it seems to have gone on to this season in terms of the WSL. And what a great role model. It's great to talk to my little girl about, you know, women's football and how great these players are and what role models they are. So I just think it's brilliant. And it's great for the club. You know, our under-23s have done well in recent years. Our ladies team's doing really well. We've got great plans for expansion of the ground. It'd just be nice if the men could start doing a bit better as well. So,
fingers crossed. Let's hope so. So let's get predictions in before we finish up, boys. Martin, what are you saying then for Sunday? It is a really big game. It's kind of one of them. Every game is a big game, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of one of them where you feel like if Gerrard loses, it's back to kind of the sack Gerrard and Gerrard out messages again. Whereas if he gets a victory or gets a decent result, then it'll be, you know, a bit more time, a bit more sort of credit in the bank. So what are you saying for Sunday's game?
I think it's going to be another boring get the result type of game, because he obviously said it in his interview now that that's what they're going to have to do for a couple of weeks, which for another language is, I'm trying to say my job, lad, so let's do it this way. So I think it's going to be another 1-0 scrappy win, just holding it off. And who'll score it? I'm going to say it's probably going to come from a corner, and I'm going to back Chamberlain.
Direct from the corner.
Yeah, that's the way we score.
Yeah, direct from the corner. Yeah, I'm going to back Chamberlain to get him a goal, because I think he'll probably start thinking now Leeds are in my back pocket. Yeah, lovely.
Can I just say
that'll be good. That'll be good.
Let
us know in the comments what you guys think the score's going to be as well, and we'll read them out as well before we finish up.
Yeah, I was just going to say before I go and give my prediction, Martin, does Nakamba know about this loving you've got for Chambers now? Is Marvellous aware of this? Because you hardly mention him anymore. It's just all it is Callum Chambers every day now. You mention.
So yeah, he hasn't been. Nakamba hasn't really been marvellous now the last few weeks. You know, like a bit of Callum. You know, like Chamberdino. He has that little samba going on.
I do think that from a technical perspective, actually having him in the team might create a bit more, because his delivery with long balls and diagonals, he's actually really good. We've seen some unbelievable assists he did last season. There was that Southampton game.
He's not really good at it. He's marvellous at it.
Yeah, he is. Well, you mean Callum is not marvellous. But remember the outside of the football across to Coutinho and then he laid it on for Luiz.
Yeah.
That finish against Leeds was just unbelievable in that game. But I don't think he's going to play. I don't think he'll play. So
no, neither do I. But I want to see it, because if he does, I'll be like this: score, please. Because I go back to this video, please score.
Luiz you talk about Luiz as well. AVFC Stato saying if he's scored direct from a corner in Villa's last 2 competitive away games, so so there you go. Can make it 3 in a row on Sunday, which would be something, wouldn't it? I'd love to know the odds on that.
God, imagine that. He nearly scored against Southampton from a corner, didn't he?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
All right, Kev, go on then. Give us your prediction, because you've given us all the terrible stats. So now you're gonna shock us with a Villa win in the 3rd kit, and it's going to be an amazing performance, and we're going to win 3-1, and we're going to absolutely take Leeds to town, aren't we?
I'm normally a really positive Villa fan. What I am for years, I've been really positive. Even when I remember when we had McLeish, I'm thinking, listen, McLeish is going to do it for this season. Give him a chance. So I'm kind of a bit annoyed at myself that I'm so subdued about it. So I'm going to be positive. We're going to break the 3rd kit curse. We're going to break the October curse. And it's going to be a 2-0 away win for Aston Villa. And the goal scorers are going to be, it's going to be Leon Bailey, and it's going to be Philippe. Philippe's going to get, I saw a stat actually on this. If he scores against Leeds, it'll be the first time I think a Villa player scored 3 away games in a row against a team since I think Ben Tuck headed against Stoke. Oh, sorry, 3 games in a row against the same team from the start.
We got you.
So that's 2-0.
Well, I'll definitely take that. I'll take the 1-0. They're my favourite away wins, but I'll take 2-0, 100% as well. I'm going to say 2-1. I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet. I think
Leeds love it 2-1, don't you? You love it.
Yeah. I think Leeds have scored 10 and conceded 10, so I think they will score some goals. But obviously they do concede. But yeah, I think we'll just about do it, boys, and I think that probably takes us right up into the top 8. I would imagine if the results go our way. You know, it's very tight in the league at the moment, so I think we could be in a decent spot, and then going into a Forest away. I know Mr. Dorr on tour has been watching as well, so I'll be on his pod next week, I think, previewing that game, which will be a good game against Forest. Stato says it was John Carew for so there we go. We can trust on Mr. Stato to get us to keep us right, and he's gone for 2-2. So good Desmond score there. Deontay is saying 2-1 Leeds, but could change his mind tomorrow. So yeah, let's hope you change your mind and keep that positivity going. Boys, it's been class to be back with the pod, and obviously great to have you boys on. We'll be back, I imagine, for the Leeds review. I'm going to the game on Sunday, so I don't think we'll be back on Sunday night for it unless you boys jump on. If it's an amazing game or if it's an amazing defeat, I'm sure we will be on to react. But more than likely we'll be on Monday. If you are watching, please drop us a like on the video. Thank you so much for your comments. It's been great. Thanks for the support on the channel. And if you haven't subscribed yet and you're liking what you see, please give us a subscribe, as we are well on the way to 400 subscribers, and then next up 500. Boys, thanks so much for joining. All that's left to say is hopefully get the 3 points on Sunday, and remember